Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Hey guys, today we're doing another side-by-side comparison between the iPhone 6 versus the Galaxy S5. Now these are the two top-selling smartphones in the world, so we're going to compare them in every category and see which one really is the best. For those of you who are interested, you have two ways of watching this, and that is all in one video, or you can watch them each in their own separate category videos. So pick which one you like more, and let's go through and see which one really is the best in which categories. Now, when comparing two smartphones, first thing we always take a look at is look and feel. So with look and feel, which one really is the better one overall? With the Galaxy S5, we have a slight upgrade from the S4 from last year. Similar kind of design. We have a bit more of a different texture on the edge, but still not the metal frame that is on the beautiful Note 4 nowadays. So in this side, it does seem, it kind of scrapes. I mean, my Note 3 that had this kind of plastic around it did scrape eventually. It does have a good grip to it, especially with the backing being a soft touch. Doesn't fall off as easily, although it does still have that slick feel if you let it go too much. So overall, though, it's not as nice as some of the newer ones we've seen from the Galaxy Alpha and the Galaxy Note 4. The dimples on the back have been controversy for a lot of people, and a lot of people have not liked them as much, again, as the newer styles of phones. They did take their cues from what people didn't like about the S5, but if you still have the S5, you probably have a case around it to make it feel better and more premium. For the iPhone 6, on the other hand, we have a similar style to really the traditional first iPhone, more of a curvature, departure from the iPhone 4 style that was more square-like. So this one has more curves, which can be good and bad. I personally liked actually the more square style. It gave a better grip to it. This one definitely has a slippery side to it. Just from even at the slightest angle, you're going to be able to drop it. And that's one thing I don't like about this backing, is that the aluminum on this one is too slippery, really. And that's one of the biggest things that I have a problem with this one, besides the antennas that really no one likes the look of it. In terms of the camera sticking out, both phones do that, so it is just one thing that you do have to deal with both cameras sticking out on both devices. However, which one is the overall better look and feel? Well, the iPhone 6 definitely has the look down, and in terms of the feel, it's really a preference. I feel that this is too slippery, although a lot of people, of course, will like that it is aluminum, so they'll kind of pick the feel just from it being aluminum instead of a plastic. Overall, I don't have a preference really between these two in terms of feel, but the look will go to the iPhone 6, so therefore the look and feel category goes to the iPhone 6. Now, when looking at web browsing, the first thing we always do take a look at is the screen resolution, just to see how good we'll really see the screen on web browsing. So on the iPhone 6, we have a 4.7-inch screen with a 326 pixels per inch, with a resolution that is a bit above 720 at 1334 by 750. On the Galaxy S5, we have a 5.1-inch screen with a 432 pixels per inch, so a little bit more than 100 pixels more, and with a 1080p screen at 920 by 1080. Now let's see how they load both of these. Oops. Both of these webs. No. Apple's kind of going off the deep end here. Nope. And now you can see how these load the website. And the iPhone 6 looks like it finished first, followed by the Galaxy S5. So in terms of loading the page, the iPhone 6 loaded quicker. Now let's move up and down. Both move very easily. Let's try a pinch to zoom. So rather than the blank screen you kind of get for a second, in terms of moving the pinch to zoom, both seem to move fairly quickly. And now how about the double tap? Oops, zoomed out on that one. Now zoom back in. The S5 seems to double tap more quickly, however, it kind of has to rearrange itself each time. Now let's just click another link. And this one, the S5 loaded first. Got a pop-up on the iPhone. I know, the iPhone loaded. So, when it comes to loading, each one at one point. When it comes to overall moving up and down, both really respond well. Punch to zoom seems to go a little bit more to the iPhone, and the double tap seemed to move a little bit quicker with the S5, but really, when it comes down to it, these two are very minuscule in terms of the difference between their web browsing. So overall, I would say that either one is going to be about on equal footing with web browsing. Yes, you obviously get more in screen with the S5, but it's not that the iPhone 6 doesn't have a bigger screen than it did before, so you have to kind of put it on even playing ground. So screen size for web browsing overall won't play too much of a factor, so we will call it a tie between the two for web browsing. Sound quality. We all listen to things on our smartphones, from listening to music, watching movies, and of course using speakerphone. So first we always take a look at speaker placement. The iPhone 6 does have it on the bottom, which is a little bit more ideal than the Galaxy S5 having it on the back. So we're going to play a song on each of these devices and see which one sounds better. We're going to go starting with the S5, then switch to the iPhone, back and forth.
Crazy how the game is changed. The lights go on, they scream my name. The curtain goes down, I remain the same. But all that money don't equal the price of fame. From LA, Seattle to the Bay, West overnight flights to Oahu, getting late. Y'all go down in Vegas, they know where we stay. Last show in Cali, headed down to the state. I was a boy with a dream, had my head in the clouds. Now I'm sleeping first class, got a bed in the clouds. Hit my pops to pick me up, and he said he was proud. King shit with a beanie on instead of a crown. Yeah, counting all my blessings. Shout out to the most high. Started from the bottom, now I'm sitting at the most high. Cheapsies to the business, now I'm literally so fly. Motivated by my brokenness, guess that's why they call it Coach, right?
Okay, now this is something that has happened before between iOS and Android. That is, the iPhone is clearly the louder of the two. However, I do like to point out that the sound quality just sounds a little bit better on the S5 overall in terms of just how it has a sound. It doesn't just sound. It's not that it sounds like more like studio quality.
Back when I was broke, I was
in terms of how his voice is compared to.
Back when I was broke, I was asking why I'd.
In terms of how it sounds on there. However, I always lean it towards the overall loudness, simply because that's what I feel that most people want in their smartphone speakers. That they want it the louder, the better, and that's, at the end of the day, the most important. Therefore, the iPhone 6 will win in the sound quality. We watch a lot of videos nowadays on our smartphones, from Netflix to YouTube, Twitch, all these features we want to be able to see on our smartphone. So we're going to be playing the same video on both. If you're wondering why I'm playing the Samsung commercial, it's because I know it won't get flagged. So let's see which one does better with the video at hand. So hopefully it translated, but basically overall the S5 just completely shuts out the iPhone 6 when watching videos. Obviously, first of all, you do have the bigger screen in terms against the iPhone 6, but this is where a couple things play into account. One, not only the bigger screen, but the better resolution. Videos just do look better and more detailed on the S5 as opposed to the iPhone 6. Not only that, just the color in every single shot that we played, it really does make such a difference on the iPhone 6 versus the S5. I mean, you look at a shot like this, it just really shows you how much of a difference from the gold in her hair to her shirt to just everything when it comes to this kind of video quality. It's going to be better. I mean, look at the blue sky in the background. Hopefully, actually, my camcorder isn't showing the blue as well, unfortunately, but it's really blue on this screen, and it's basically a whitish blue on that screen. So everything on video quality is going to lean towards the S5, just for its color reproduction, its screen size, and its screen resolution. Now, when it comes to the photo quality between these two, we always take a look at the cameras themselves first. On the iPhone 6, we have photo, video, slow motion video, time lapse, square photo, and panorama. Now, on the photos, we do have different effects that we can play as well, which are a total of 9. Or, well, eight rather. You do have the front-facing camera, timer, HDR, which it's actually, that was one of the things. It's actually, I would say, worse on the iPhone 6 than it was on the S5. Sorry, on the 5S. The HDR just doesn't make as much of a difference as it did before. I'm not sure why that is, but the HDR was better on the iPhone 5S in comparison. And of course, you have the flash. So these are all of the features on the iPhone 6 camera. On the Galaxy S5, we have a little bit of a different design. A little bit more you can do, but it always depends on the person which features you're really going to use. You have, of course, video and camera right here on the front. In terms of video, you can do slow motion, fast motion, and smooth motion. Smooth motion is by far the best video quality I have yet to ever see on a smartphone. So that is one thing that definitely stands out with the S5 in terms of video. You do have a flash. You do have instant HDR, which is, at least at this time, the best HDR on the market, simply because it just makes a huge difference in terms of the quality that it takes. And you do have filters, although they're a little bit hidden for the effects. So on the effects side, you do have lots of different effects you can put, and there are really lots of them. You can even download more. But again, are you going to use that many effects before? That is up to the person. And finally, we have different modes, which go from beauty face, shot and more, edit photos after, your panorama, your virtual tour, as well as dual camera, and you can even download more. Lots and lots of modes on this camera. But what about the overall quality? Well, that's where we're going to go. and take a look now and see between the two. So for the first photo that we take a look at, this is judging a low light. We're trying to see which one does better for low light photos. And overall, I have to say with this low light shot, the iPhone 6 did a better job than the Galaxy S5. Just in terms of clarity, we see a lot more graininess on the S5 on this photo than we typically would. On this side, it's a little bit even, but on this side, it really is not. It just makes a bit better detail on the iPhone 6 compared to the Galaxy S5. So for this photo, we give it to the iPhone 6. And now we always go to color reproduction, which is doing the better job at color reproduction. Now this one, wow, this camcorder is really showing a difference in what I'm seeing here. But in this one, why is that so different from what I'm seeing? It is completely golden here, which my camcorder seems to be showing more of a red on here. And golden balls, which definitely shows, obviously, more truer color. These are Dragon Balls. They are supposed to be orange. So it's showing a truer color reproduction on the Galaxy S5. On the iPhone 6, again, sorry for the color being off. It's a pale yellow on the screen for the iPhone 6. And you do have... hopefully that's a bit better now. It's a pale yellow for the iPhone 6, and the balls are brown, like a dark brown, which is not the color. So overall for color reproduction, it is going to go to the Galaxy S5 on this one. Now in terms of selfies. In terms of selfies on the iPhone, the first thing I was kind of surprised with was just how narrow the iPhone takes a photo. It's definitely a narrower photo in comparison to how the photo is taken on the S5. You get a lot more in your shot. However, it is clear on the iPhone. It's just a bit of a clearer shot overall. Maybe that's from taking a smaller exposure, so you don't have to kind of deal with the background here, which created more noise than expected. So overall, for the selfie taking, the iPhone 6 would be the better one for that. Now on this one, it's kind of interesting actually, because this one I gave it an overall tie. The color reproduction is easily better on the Galaxy S5, as this is how my walls look compared to this. And it just seemed the entire color was amplified on this with the iPhone 6 comparing to the Galaxy S5. This is a white and pink flower, but on the iPhone, it really became more of a pink flower with hardly any white inside of it. So I found that to be interesting. I'm not sure why this one was more saturated, and on the color reproduction one, it was by far just off. So it really is interesting with that. But the reason why I call this a tie, not an overall win for the S5, is because the detail came out just a little bit better on the 6 on this one. They're very close on this one, but overall, I like the detail better on the 6. But the color and the lighting is just so much better on the Galaxy S5 on this case. So this one I would call a tie between the two. And lastly, we go to one of the hardest shots for a camera to take, and that is a sunset shot. So sunset shots, any kind of sunrise or sunset is always very difficult for a phone to do. And it's definitely one of the hardest ones for camera phones to do. I have found in my background in photography, just really one of the hardest ones to do. But the iPhone 6 really blew it here. I mean, just nothing is clear at all in this photo. Just nothing. Even the subway, the bigger sign is really grainy. And again, this is where the 16 megapixels versus the 8 megapixels really makes a difference, because on the Galaxy S5, we do see everything clear in terms of the subway sign here. My camcorder is kind of washing out, but you can see the Starbucks sign very clearly here. Jamba Juice, the subway sign there, and just everything is overall more clear on the Galaxy S5 on this shot. Not to mention the color is much better and well done in comparison on these two as well. So overall, the Galaxy S5 takes this one. So what this means is, overall for photos, it's really a tie between these two. The Galaxy S5 did better in a sunset photo between the two. However, in terms of this photo, we got much better lighting and better color reproduction, while more clarity on the iPhone 6. On the selfie taking, the iPhone 6 gave a much narrower field. However, it did take a better overall shot in that narrower field. In this one, easily the Galaxy S5 takes it. Unfortunately, my camcorder can't produce the color, it seems accurately, but just it is almost exactly what I took here, whereas this is a completely different color, so I don't know where it's getting it from. And finally, with the night shot, again, overall the iPhone 6 won on this one. So between these 5 different photos, we do give it a tie, simply because it just depends on really what kind of thing you're looking more for. In terms of low light, the iPhone 6 seems to do a better job than the Galaxy S5. In terms of hard conditions with light, such as either very bright light or in between light, the Galaxy S5 seems to do a bit better job. And in terms of selfies, the iPhone 6 seems to do a better job. So really kind of depends on which style you're going for. It seems that the colors do tend to be a little bit more accurate on the S5, whereas the iPhone 6 tends to be just off and random at times, sometimes oversaturating and sometimes being more dull. So overall, this will be a tie between the two. Now, when it comes to the gaming experience on these two devices, both do fairly well with games. Any games that you pretty much put on there, they're going to run well. So it comes down to really the question of which is better for gamers. And with these two, it's really kind of a toss-up. The reason is because on iOS 6, on the iPhone 6 rather, you do have a bit of a quicker turnaround for new games to come out. Although Android has caught up fairly well over the past 2 years at getting the latest games just like iOS does, it really is still just sometimes 2 to 3 weeks that a game is on iOS 6 before it comes out for Android. For that reason, iPhone 6 does seem to have an edge. However, on Android, you do have about 100,000 more free games, but more importantly, you do have emulators that really work really well. Comparing to iOS has a very small amount of emulators, and in working well, not always. With Android though, it's made for emulators. If you want to play an old PS1 game, Nintendo 64 game, any kind of game that we have from the past, Super Nintendo, PSP, Game Boy DS, you really have the ability to play all of these on Android, which offers obviously a much richer gaming experience when you're talking about console gaming as compared to app games. So for that purpose, this one naturally we're going to call a tie, just simply because of the fact between these two, it really is going to come down to your preference of maybe in the latest and greatest new game out on the market, or having more free games to your ability and having more emulator games that you can get a true gaming experience with. Now, when it comes to battery life, it really does make a difference between these two, because how long is each phone going to really last you? Well, I actually took note, especially of this time, as soon as I started these videos and till now, and this always brings the example of what I've always said, that while both phones on iPhone and Samsung do very well on standby time, almost draining nothing when you're not using them, when you use them, iPhone drains rapidly faster. On the iPhone 6, we started off with 62%, And on the Galaxy S5, we started off with 75% when doing these comparisons. Now, using both equally, of course, setting up the same type of showings on both these devices, the iPhone 6 dropped down to 53, bringing it at 19% drop, whereas the the Galaxy S5 had a 10% drop, showing at 65 instead of 75. So really, this is what I mean by when you use an iPhone, it drains just so much quicker than on a Samsung. And overall, for people that care about battery life, the Galaxy S5 will take the battery life comparison. Now, when it comes to extra features, which one really takes the cake between iPhone 6 and the latest Samsung Galaxy S5? Well, iPhone always has trouble with this category and winning it, simply because when you get an iPhone, you just get an iPhone. You don't have all of the bells and whistles that Android has, which is part of the appeal of iPhone, is the simplicity of it. But with extra features on the iPhone, you only have a fingerprint scanner. And while you do have NFC for Apple Pay, that NFC can't be used for anything else that NFC is used for, such as transferring over contact information between two devices, transferring over web pages, YouTube links, or even files such as music, photos, anything like this the iPhone cannot do through NFC. So it is a very limited NFC that it has. Plus, we didn't get that sapphire glass that we were promised. The iPhone 6 does not have it. On the Galaxy S5, we do have a fingerprint scanner and NFC with its full capability. But more importantly, one of the biggest extra features the Galaxy S5 has is, of course, water resistance. So you really can go in the water 3 feet for 30 minutes, and it's fine. I've done this on multiple occasions, and it really does come in handy. You just don't have to worry about water, and it's a nice feeling to have. The Galaxy S5, of course, also has some extras, which some people might not use, such as a heart rate monitor. But more importantly, it has extras such as a removable battery and the ability to add on storage up to 128 gigs that you can add on to the Galaxy S5, which of course you can't do with the iPhone 6. Some other features include an IR blaster to control all of your electronic devices at home, such as a TV, cable box, Blu-ray, and even Apple TV, funny enough. So because of these features, when it comes to extras, the Galaxy S5 will take the extras category just because it offers more for just having the device itself. Now, when it comes to price point between the two, well, we have a similar price point, but this is the time of year when that changes. Now, on a 2-year contract for both these devices, you'll generally find them at the same price at $199. For the outright price, you'll find the Galaxy S5 to be a little cheaper on the $609 price point compared to the $649 price point, coming in about $2 less per month if you're doing the monthly installments. However, another important thing to note is that the Galaxy S5 this time of year goes on sale a lot. So even for that 2-year contract price of $199, which these two generally are, you're actually going to find that the Galaxy S5 can go for $99 at times, possibly even free at times on the 2-year contract price point around this time of year. So for overall, between the two, in terms of price point, it is going to go to the S5 just for not only having the lower outright price now, but more so because this time of year the contract price will also be less almost everywhere between the two. Alright, let's tally them up and see who won overall between these two smartphones. When it comes to look and feel, the iPhone 6 just takes it, being the overall better when it comes to look. And feel, I would say it's a tie. I don't care for either one, quite frankly, overall without a case. When it comes to web browsing, the two really are very similar. In loading times, one beat the other, and then the other one beat the other one. In terms of how it moved, each one moved fairly quickly, and it really was a very minor difference between the two. So overall, the browsing will be the same. For music quality, I always give the edge to the louder device, which in this case was the iPhone 6. So overall, yes, the music quality will be better on the iPhone 6 compared to the S5. When watching movies, you really have to give it to the S5. This is where everything stands out. You have the bigger screen, you have the better color reproduction, and finally you have the better resolution. All make for a much better viewing experience when watching movies. When it comes to camera quality, it really was a tie. The two just did better on their respective sections. The Galaxy S5 did better on color reproduction and more dramatic changes of light between the two. However, in terms of low light, the iPhone 6 just seemed to do a better job, and in terms of selfies, it did as well. When it comes to gaming, it really is a preference of what you rather have between the two. Would you rather have newer games out right away, or would you rather have more free games and the ability to play lots and lots of emulators now more than ever comparing on Android versus iOS? In terms of battery life, it is going to be, again, the Galaxy S5, just because in terms of battery life overall, every time when you use the iPhone 6 compared to a Samsung device, it just seems to retain battery life better when using it. Again, standby time is great on both of these devices. When it comes to extras, Galaxy S5 shines here. It's going to have more features that you get outright of the box, such as a heart rate monitor, and as well as an IR blaster. But overall, the water resistance is one thing that it really stands out, and it's really grown to be quite fond of. Not to mention, of course, the removable battery and add-on storage. And finally, when it comes to price point, the Galaxy S5 is going to be the cheaper of the two now, as well as we can expect the holiday times for it to go even further down. I'm sure when it goes to Black Friday, it's going to be going for $99, if not lower even. So really, overall, for bang for your buck, it's going to go the S5 as well. Alright, when we tally them all up, it is the Galaxy S5 that has beat out the iPhone 6. This was a really close comparison. Both on gaming, camera, and web browsing we had ties, not to mention that the iPhone also won look and feel and music. But if you are looking for a better battery life with better screen quality and more extras and for a lower price, you're going to want to go with the Galaxy S5. Alright guys, hopefully you liked this comparison. Please give a like, thumbs up if you did. Thank you for watching. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.